Shabbat Shalom. It's interesting that when the Talmud describes the Jewish nation, the Talmud uses the term Rachmanim b'nei Rachmanim, which means compassionate ones, children and descendants of compassionate ones. One of the most important traits of being a Jew is to be compassionate. And therefore it's so ironic that the world and anti-Semites and the UN yesterday portrays the Jewish people and the state of Israel as being uncompassionate, when indeed the trait of compassion is the symbol and the hallmark of the Jewish nation. The word Rachmanut, which means compassion, has the root of the word rechem, which means womb. Why? Because just like a mother naturally has compassion for her child, so too Rachmanut is a natural sense of compassion for others. In this week's Torah portion, we read the story of Miriam. Miriam was stricken with leprosy because she spoke Lashon Hara about her brother Moshe. And the question is, why would the Torah record a story of Miriam committing a sin to teach us a lesson not to speak Lashon Hara? Isn't that the greatest act of Lashon Hara, by recording her sin for generations to read? And perhaps the answer is the end of the story, where after she is quarantined for 7 days, the Torah tells us the entire nation waited for her to be cured and healed to rejoin the camp. Why did they show Miriam such great honor? Because 81 years earlier, when her baby brother Moses was placed in the Nile by her mother, she stood over her baby brother in the Nile and watched from a distance until the daughter of Pharaoh came and rescued her. And then she stepped forward and helped arrange for her brother to be returned to her mother to be nursed. And because she, 81 years earlier, showed compassion for her baby brother, the entire Jewish nation rewarded her and honored her by waiting for her to be cured from her 7 days of leprosy. What the Torah is teaching us is that as Jews, we celebrate compassion. That is a virtue that is sorely lacking in the world. And if we want to be happier and we want to improve our relationships, we have to show more compassion. And while there may be those that distort reality and history to claim that the Jewish people are not compassionate, the Jewish people, by returning Gaza in 2005 in an effort to make peace with the Arabs, uprooting 10,000 Jews from their homes, from their synagogues, in a genuine effort to live in peace, has shown the world time and again that we want nothing more than compassionate relationships with all of our neighbors. But unfortunately, misplaced compassion is when you show compassion to those who are evil, to those who want to kill you, because then the Torah tells us, when someone comes to attack you, you must defend yourself. And so as Jews, we have to remember we are compassionate ones, the children and the descendants of compassionate ones. And that is our true nature. As Golda Meir once said, when peace will come, we may be able to forgive our enemies for killing our children, but we'll never be able to forgive them for making us have our children kill their children. It's a story told in Israel. There was a young soldier, his name was Gadi Rimon, and he was on duty right outside Ramallah when he was shot by an Arab terrorist. He was laying there, bleeding to death, when another soldier, an IDF soldier by the name of Shlomo Bergman, came by. And Shlomo Bergman quickly put him into his Jeep and drove him to the local hospital, where doctors immediately began to save his life by performing a life-saving surgery on him. Well, his parents were called, and even before his parents can get to the hospital, the soldier who had saved his life, Shlomo Bergman, had left. Thank God, Gadi Ramon recovered. And his parents wanted to know who was the soldier who saved their son's life so they could thank him personally. But no one knew the name of the soldier who had dropped him off at the hospital. Well, the parents of Gadi Ramon owned a grocery store in Ashdod. And so they figured, Israel's a small country. So they put up a sign in the window of the grocery store telling the story and saying, if anyone knows the name of the soldier who saved our son's life, please let us know. Well, one day the mother of Shlomo Bergman, whose name is Anat, was visiting her mother in Ashdod, where she grew up. And she went into the local grocery store and saw the sign. She went up to the parents of Gadi Ramon and said, "Hi, my name is Anat Bergman. Do you remember me?" And they said no. And she said, "Well, 20 years ago, I used to live here as a young lady. And I came into your store one day and I looked sad, I looked depressed. And you came over to me, Mrs. Ramon, and you asked me, 'Why do you look so sad?' And I told you that I'm struggling financially, me and my husband, and we found out that we're pregnant with another child. And we don't know how we can have another child when we can't even support ourselves now. And we're thinking about having an abortion, and that's the decision that's weighing me down. You looked at me the minute you heard the word abortion, and you called your husband over, and together you encouraged me to have the baby, saying the most beautiful gift in life is to hold an infant child, to nurture a baby, to bring a life into this world, to raise a child. It's the greatest joy. And you reassured me that with every child, new blessings arrive. And you then said to me, don't worry, if you ever need food, you could always come to us. We will always help you with no money, whatever's necessary. Just please don't abort the child. Well, I decided to go ahead with your encouragement and have the child. And that child was born, and we named our child Shlomo. And I want to let you know that the soldier who saved your son's life and brought him to the hospital was my son Shlomo Bergman, who you encouraged me to not abort. When we show compassion to others, that compassion comes back to us. And this week's Torah portion teaches us that we must celebrate, honor, and cherish and appreciate compassion, because that is the most important characteristic for human peace and harmony. Shabbat Shalom.